Thank you very much, and I'm very happy and Priscilla to be here. As introduced, my name is Priscilla, and I will talk about Botswana and the update that we have on human trafficking. The Republic of Botswana, of course, is a signatory to the United Convention, transnational organized crime, and it's implementing a protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children. As such, in order to domesticate or nationalize or incorporate into our laws, or to give effect to the convention and the protocol it's enacted, Botswana enacted the Anti-Women Trafficking Act. The Anti-Women Trafficking Act number 32 of 2014 was enacted, and it commenced on the 1st of January 2015. Our first case under the Act was registered, of course, by myself on the 24th December 2015. Before the enactment of the Act, Botswana used sections in penal codes where we addressed trafficking in persons, and we used some of the sections in the Immigration Act, and our Children's Act also addressed the problem because it criminalized the trafficking of children though during the prior period we had not charged any. The Act was recently amended by an amendment of number 18, among other things, to include an offense of smuggling. Before, we did not have any offense to punish the smugglers, and we know that as a fact that smuggling can be an underlying offense to human trafficking, because a victim can be smuggled in a country and then eventually suffered exploitation. And when that exploitation happens, then it turns to trafficking. There are ongoing cases in Botswana that are before courts, and there is one completed case that my colleague has just referred to, where a judge sentenced a trafficker to 18 months and wholly suspended it. And we know that trafficking and smuggling are two different offenses. And of course, like I said, smuggling could be an underlying offense to human trafficking, and therefore it has to be punished. As well as much as we punish human trafficking, the sentences has to be relatively the same, because both victims suffer the same suffering as that of human trafficking. Since the enactment of the Act, we have had 12 defendants who were charged for trafficking in persons, and then we have had 13 defendants charged with promotion of trafficking in persons. And we have had one defendant who was charged with rape, because we realized that this was a victim of trafficking, and the defendant, though he was not a trafficker, but raped the victim. And then we have had 14 cases of defendants, 14 defendants who were charged with neglect and ill-treatment of children. This charge come along with the fact that there are children who are smuggled, especially from the Republic of Zimbabwe, and if we don't have more evidence, like I said, we charge with the underlying offense, and this is where we charged some of the traffickers with the underlying offenses, and there are convictions on promotion and trafficking in persons. Botswana is a source and also a transit and destination country for trafficking in persons. We have noted that it's mostly used as a transit because we are next to South Africa, and most of the African countries, they believe that there's lucrative in South Africa, so that's why they traffic people through Botswana. And what they do is a trafficker will transport a victim into Botswana, and going through the normal immigration route. And then because Botswana and South Africa, they share a very long border. And again, we have people who are South Africans having relatives in Botswana. So what they do with the victims, the moment they land in Botswana, then they cross them to South Africa over and through ungazetted points of entry. And as such, it means that a victim will be lost, Because in records, it will show that a victim is still in Botswana, whereas the victim is no longer in Botswana, is in South Africa or somewhere out of Africa. And then we have had cases of, we have a number of 3 or 4 victims for sexual exploitation. From these 4 victims, one was a child who was trafficked to Botswana for purposes of sexual prostitution. And it must be noted that in Botswana, prostitution is not legal, it's an offense. And to run a brothel in Botswana is an offense. And as a result, they were doing it undercover. Fortunately, this child was recovered. And it turned out that by the time she was rescued, she had been made to sleep with more than 13 men. But likely she was tested for HIV, she was negative. But she suffered other trauma, because we tried to take this child to school, and the underneath were just too smelly that she couldn't even sit with other children, and which traumatized her to the extent that she ended up beating other students. So, because we didn't see the measure, the damage that was done. So now we had to go back in order to ensure that this child is restored even though we cannot restore all. And then we had cases of 3 child labor. These 3 cases were inbound within the country. And then we have had 24 cases of adults who were trafficked for labor, mostly who were on transit. And then we have 2 cases of child laundering. Child laundering is a system because these cases originated from Nigeria. And it came right from the church, because this is where I believe that there's a baby manufacturing factory where where little girls, they are made to fall pregnant. In the other side, the priest will be telling women that they are praying for this woman, and then they are now impregnated by the Holy Spirit. And we only know that Maria was the only one who was impregnated by the Holy Spirit. But now the priests make believe people that they are impregnated by the Holy Spirit. And when it's time to give birth, they are told to come to the church where they'll give birth. And all of a sudden, a woman will give birth to a 3-month-old child. And when we did our mutual legal assistance to obtain evidence in Nigeria, it was discovered that even those birth certificates, even though they write that indicate that the mother, the spiritual mother, is the biological mother to the child, the birth certificates are fake. So we have 2 cases that involve child laundering in Botswana. They are before court, and I'm the prosecutor for that. Victims in Botswana basically are not penalized, and because we don't have, since it's a new offense, it's something that is new in our country, so we don't have shelters. And as a result, we keep our victims in hotels, which is more expensive, but we do that. However, we have noted that there is a lot of illegal smuggling of children during holidays, especially in December. In December 2016, we conducted a campaign because we wanted to see the strength of this children smuggling. We had cases where children were smuggled and subjected to conditions which were unbearable. Imagine a 5-year-old child hidden under a tonneau cover and made to cross through Botswana hidden under a tonneau cover. And not only a child, because there will be about 15 or 16 children under this tonneau cover. And over 32 children ranging from 3 months to 15 years were rescued and formally repatriated to the country of their origin during the period of December 2016 only and February 2017. The perpetrators were prosecuted and convicted on charges of neglect and ill treatment of children. This was before we amended our laws to include smuggling. This reduced the number of children transited through Botswana, and some of these children have no origin because we rescue the children, and sometimes when we rescue the children, the perpetrators will run away and leaving us with children, some who don't even know their parents, who don't even know their origin, because at the most they are told, and they are, what do you call it? I will remember the word. Yes, they are brainwashed And you know, children, when they're brainwashed, they can forget easily. So then we have had cases like that. At the moment, we have 3 cases where we have requested mutual legal assistance from our neighboring country, Zimbabwe, in trying to trace the parents. So the question is, are we going to be able to trace the parents? Because now it has been more than 3 years and we have not received anything. So these children, ladies, because I've heard the other presenters talking about children. These children, at least they are covered by the Children's Act up until they attain the age of 18 years. And whilst you are in the process of tracing these children, because whilst you are doing that, you can't make these children to be adopted. And some of the parents, they want to adopt smaller babies because they want children that who will know them as their parents. So nobody wants to adopt a 10-year-old. Nobody wants to adopt an 8-year-old. And then these children will be placed under the shelters. What is going to happen to these children when they attain the age of 18 years? When they are no longer children? Are we going to abandon them? What is going to happen to them? This is something that, ladies, we should look into, because I know that it affects every country here. What are we going to do about those children? Are we not going to create other criminals? Because those children, at the age of 18 years, you are still a child. Though the law says that you are no longer a child, but you are still a child, you need a guardian. So is the country be able to give guardianship to a child like that? The answer is no. We need mothers to guide our children. So what are we going to do to help our countries deal with such cases? And what are the risks of having children who do not have guardians? Are we not going to have now running a factory of criminals that will affect our country, or maybe that will turn into traffickers themselves, because they will grow knowing that they've been trafficked. That's why they've been displayed. And I think I'll stop there. And thank you very much.
One question, but the fathers come from Botswana or for another part?
On the child laundering? On the child laundering, the investigation that we did, the legal investigation that we did in Nigeria, I think we have some of our colleagues from Nigeria, they can come up with something. What they do is they get like the 15-year-olds, I don't know whether they put them or they abduct them and then put them in where they'll have babies and then take away the babies. So these babies are the ones that are laundered out everywhere, because there are many of those children in Botswana, there are many of those children in South Africa. So because people come in, because once these women have these children, they'll testify in an open television that they could not conceive, or they did not have a womb, and then the pastor prayed for them and they got pregnant by the Holy Spirit. So the fathers, basically, we don't know whether they are men who are trafficked again to make those children pregnant, or it is even the priests who make those children pregnant, because what we know that is just pregnant and then they just get the baby.